What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Crypto for You. Bitcoin has just broken out of this falling channel, which took us all the way up to $43,500. This is very, very important. This is very, very bullish because it means that we have now broken out of this big pattern right over here called a falling wedge, which is a bullish pattern that could take Bitcoin to new higher highs in the near future. I want to talk about the possibilities of Bitcoin going up, the possibilities of a bearish outcome occurring, and the likelihood of each possibility happening. I want to talk about all that and more in this video, explaining it as simply as possible, so I would appreciate it if you dropped a like down below this video. It's very, very simple, and you can always change it back later. So without further ado, let's get straight into the charts, starting at this last month on the 4-hourly time frame, and we can see that Bitcoin has been inside of this falling wedge since the beginning of December, which we are now breaking out of due to this falling channel pattern that I drew, which what's interesting is the target of this falling channel was perfectly reached at 43,500. So now that Bitcoin is at this level, at $43,000, we need to confirm support on top of this wedge. If we confirm support at this support line, we can continue our trajectory first to 44,000 and after that to $48,000. Unless we just continue our vertical ascent on the 4-hourly time frame. You can see that we already had 4 green candles in a row and are starting by what looks like to be our 5th green candle. And if we continue this way, we can reach 45,000 in a matter of hours. So this is something to look forward to in the near future, in the very near future. But is 45,000 the only level I think Bitcoin could reach? No. After we reach 45,000, we might stop there for a little bit, we might not. But if we break 45,000, we're 100% breaking to $48,000, and that is because if I go on the daily time frame, we've been inside of an even bigger indicator over here, which is an ascending wedge. Now, an ascending wedge is technically bearish, so the target of this ascending wedge is all the way down at $32,000 to around $36,000. And even though it is this bearish, it is a very big ascending wedge, so it will take us forever to break out of it, even if we will, because Bitcoin is inside of a bull market. Bitcoin is current now pumping like crazy. And with the real life world events that are coming up, with the ETFs going to be accepted in less than a month, with the halving coming up with April, with the FOMC meeting that just occurred that seemingly was very, very bullish for Bitcoin, all of those bullish things could just overpass all this technical analysis that we have, because what technical analysis is just probabilities compared to real world news, which affects real world emotions at the source. But even though it's super bullish in the world right now and everything looks super, super up, we do of course need to account for the possibility of a very quick decline for Bitcoin in the near future, which is why I want to look at the Ichimoku cloud on the 4-hourly, the daily, and the weekly time frame, because if we go to the 4-hourly time frame, we can see that the Ichimoku cloud has been acting as a huge, and I mean huge, level of support for Bitcoin for the last 4 months. And ever since we were pumping up, Bitcoin continued to go pretty far from the Ichimoku cloud before going down, quickly tapping it and continuing our trajectory to the upside. The only thing I want you guys to notice is that after we have huge periods of increase, we do see this big fall down to this 4-hourly Ichimoku cloud tapping support, which means that right now, if Bitcoin does decide to go up, this would be a very stable trend to the upside, because Bitcoin has just confirmed support on the bottom of this Ichimoku cloud, which is very, very strong. And of course, that seems very bullish, but what happens if we break it? That's the real question. If we go back in history, we can see that once we break this Ichimoku cloud, we have this very long period of decline, which lasts around 15 to 30%. Now, I've been talking about cycles on my channel for a while, and 15 to 30% is just a regular cycle, a regular decline on the longer time frame, on the daily time frame. And so, the Ichimoku cloud on the daily time frame gets hit every single time we break the 4-hourly Ichimoku cloud, and that happens every single time Bitcoin rises too far from its Ichimoku cloud, and that causes it to fall down. And the farther it goes up, from the Ichimoku cloud, the farther it crashes, which gives me a little bit of a reason to be alarmed on how fast Bitcoin has been rising in the last 4 months. Of course, that is because of all the hype that's happening in the real world. But of course, this dump does require a small pullback. And the question is, was this 10% pullback enough? On the daily time frame, it doesn't really seem like it because we have not touched our Ichimoku cloud in forever. This Ichimoku cloud, of course, is at $36,000, and if we were to fall down to that level from the top of where Bitcoin was down to the bottom, that would be a 21% decline, which perfectly aligns between our target of 15 to 30%, which is our regular bull market pullbacks that Bitcoin does all the time. You can look at the Bitcoin history. This dump would be a normal crash. A lot of people believe 35,000 is not achievable. Yes, it is. It's just not plausible because we have so much real world bullish news happening, but it is still a possibility, which is why if Bitcoin ever gets rejected from 43 right now and falls all the way down to $40,000, the next big target in mind for me is $35,000. But speaking of rejections, I want to go on the weekly time frame and talk about that Ichimoku cloud, because ever since September, when we were just entering the Ichimoku cloud, I've been talking about the possibility of when Bitcoin reaches $40,000, the top of the Ichimoku cloud, we could see a pullback down to around the middle of the Ichimoku cloud, which would be around $35,000. Why? Well, because if we go back in time to when Bitcoin was going all the way up to $70,000, we also needed to break this red Ichimoku cloud on the weekly time frame, and right after we did that, we had this pump. What's interesting to look at is how we broke it, because we also were entering the Ichimoku cloud and had this very big spike up to the Ichimoku cloud, actually breaking it to the upside. We had what seemed to be a confirmation, but what's interesting is that the month after the seemingly confirmation was a very weak bullish candle, and that caused Bitcoin to have this crash down to the middle of the Ichimoku cloud. But once we did break out of the Ichimoku cloud, that's where this last step hyperinflationary period was, and that's when we had this huge non-stop pump up to new all-time highs, to insane all-time highs, which is why right now, if we do have a very weak green candle right over here, we could see a possibility of a retracement down to lower levels, $35,000, before coming straight back up in around April, which would be right over here, perfectly in time for the halving, and we could see the start of that hyperinflationary period to new all-time highs. This is, of course, relying on the fact that this next week will be a very weak bullish candle, and that means that if the next week we do see a pump all the way to around $48,000 and close the candle there, we could continue our pump all the way to $50,000, even maybe reaching $60,000, and that all depends on what happens in the real life. But remember, it's still a possibility that we retrace all the way down to $35,000. But how likely is it? Not that likely. But if it is, we know exactly where Bitcoin's going to go. We know exactly how long it's going to happen, and we know exactly what's going to happen afterwards. And that's exactly what I want you guys to know. So don't panic whatever happens in the next couple weeks. Make sure you keep watching my videos because I'll continuously update you guys on what's happening with the crypto charts. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to click that post notification bell. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!